What's going on, guys? Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about why I'm buying Alibaba stock today, right? So actually, I bought some Alibaba stock options today, right? So if we take a look at the 6 month chart, some people might be asking, oh, how do you time the exact bottom or exact top, right? So really, I don't, because you can see I sold out all of my options at 107, right? And it actually ran all the way to 120, which was a bit painful at that point. But I know that if I didn't sell those options at 107, I'll probably be taking this 21% loss, and all those options will be worthless right now, right? So if we take a look at the technical picture, right, I was always playing for this pullback to 100 and pullback to 93, right? So 93 because it's the 200-day moving average, right? So I actually bought today because I don't think I want to take the risk of it having a huge bounce and me missing out, right? Because I know myself and I'm only willing to buy when the stocks are coming down, right? If it bounced like 2%, I'll probably tell myself, it's okay, I'll just wait, it'll come back down to 93 again, right? And what if that never happens and then I'll miss out on the whole run, right? Because my thesis is still very on track for Alibaba, right? So you can see from my last Alibaba trade with options, right, I actually did 4 times my money, right? Basically, I 4x my money, right? And this is a few catalysts that I've been talking about that Alibaba has a chance to double because of this catalyst, right? So first of all is the Hong Kong Shanghai Stock Connect program, and second of all is more share buybacks. Third is management's bullish commentary, and last but not least, of course, is China reopening, right? So I expect this quarter to be quite a good quarter for Alibaba. So few things I'm looking for is obviously bullish commentary from management and acceleration in growth, right? That is something I really think can expand Alibaba's multiples, right? Because at this current point in time, Alibaba is trading at, I think, 10 times free cash flow with 68 billion of cash and short-term investments, right? So to put that into perspective, around 30% of its market cap is in cash. If you take a sum of parts valuation, you can definitely come up with a 250 billion valuation very, very easily, right? So this is also ignoring all the, the potential growth from the e-commerce business and the potential growth from China reopening, right? So I expect this quarter to be quite smooth. Maybe something that I'll be looking out for is something like the Facebook earnings, right? Where they just change a bit of things and the stock is up 23% in a day, right? But that is not something I'm really expecting, right? But something that I think is possible, right? Because I would put Facebook and Alibaba in quite the same buckets, right? They are really, really undervalued stock with huge moats, right? And they just need to change a few things and they can really come back to multiple expansion, right? But I think my main focus on this Alibaba options play is really that the downside is really, really quite limited, right? So if a stock is trading at 10 times free cash flow, the downside is actually quite capped, right? Especially if the stock has such a big moat, right? If you're talking about a decaying company that is losing revenues like 20% a quarter, then yeah, probably it's not even worth the 10 times free cash flow, right? But I think this Alibaba bottom here was really, really irrational, and I do think that was the bottom, right? But we'll have to see. So I think the downside is quite limited. First of all, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to investing, right? Always look at the downside, right? And the upside will take care of itself, right? Because even if this quarter is not so good, I think people will be more forward looking, right? They will look 6 months forward when the China reopening is in full action, what will be the case, right? And of course, management commentary is very, very important this quarter, right? Whether they are more confident after China has reopened or not, whether they announce a new share buyback or not, right? And I think that's a big reason for why Meta had this huge run just in one day, right? So basically, these are my reasons for buying this new tranche of Alibaba stock options, right? So I really do hope this is the bottom, because obviously I just got in, and at this point, right, I was actually holding Alibaba stock, but I was still rooting for the stock to go down, right? Now I'm just rooting for it to go up, right? So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the earnings are good and we'll have a new bull run in Chinese equities, right? So this is the part of the video where I talk about position sizing, right? And this is very, very important, right? Because some people will see, 400% gains on these Alibaba options, especially since in the video I explained that most of the gains came in like 4 or 5 days, right? So some people will say, oh my god, you 4x your portfolio in 4 days, I also want to do that, right? And that is not the case, right? Because I don't put my whole portfolio into options trades, right? That is just absolutely insane, right? Because options are not investments, right? They are speculations where you put a bit of your portfolio and it's like a lottery ticket, right? So in this case, why am I doing it? Why am I playing the lottery? So maybe I just feel like this is too good of an opportunity. But another reason why I am using options is because it requires less capital. And also, a bit of my view has changed about the Chinese stock market, right? Because at first, when I came into this, I thought I want to hold forever, right? But after doing research and being in this investments, right, I realized one big problem with the Chinese stock market that nobody really talks about, right, is that all these and maybe I'll make a separate video on this, right? Because I'm quite intrigued by this as well, right? All these basically heads of these companies, right, are getting sliced off, right? So the brilliant minds that cause these companies to grow huge in the first place, right, are basically being sliced off, right? If you look at, I think it's ByteDance founder, I think Alibaba definitely, and this list goes on, right? So a lot of mysterious Chinese entrepreneurs just taking their days to gaze at the beach and relax, right, when they're 35 or something like that, right? So I don't think that bodes well for the long-term horizon if you're an investor in all these companies, right? Because imagine you have Charlie Munger or basically Warren Buffett sitting on the head of your company, which is a CEO or co-founder position, right? Or chairman of the board or something like that, right? And they get forcefully removed, right? Imagine if Warren Buffett was removed when he was 60 or 70, right? Because they say, oh, you're too old to run this huge company. Let's get someone else in, right? I don't think Berkshire would be the monster it is today, right? So that is some of my thoughts on this options trade and speculation versus investing, right? So one other thing to look at in the technical picture, right, is also the RSI, right? Because RSI is a boat of momentum, right? And you can see every time it hit around this level, or maybe this is a super low level, right? But hit around this level, it's quite a good time to look to get in, right? And if we take around this level, right? So you take a look at here, this is the bottom. Take a look at somewhere around here. This is near the bottom. So you can see that this is quite a bottoming signal, right? So I would throw in some of this into consideration nowadays, because previously I thought, oh, I don't care about the technicals, just care about the fundamentals. But the technicals do tell you where a lot of buyers will step in, because the more people use this, the more effective it is, right? Let's say all the people in the world use technical analysis, right? Then it becomes very, very important, right? Because everyone is looking at the same thing. And then you have to see how you can front run that, right? Maybe buy 2% more expensive or something like that. But if no one is looking at it, which I don't believe is the case, right? I believe a lot of people are looking at it, right? And if a lot of people are looking at it, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? But if nobody is looking at it, then I think it's completely useless, right? Because if nobody is looking at it, obviously it's useless, right? So a few more things to talk about is obviously the regulatory crackdown. I think it's over, right? So I think there will be still some embers, but I think for the main part of it is over, right? And also Ant Financial got to raise capital, so that was a good vote of confidence as well, right? And you might have remembered that Ant Financial got to raise capital somewhere around here, right? So you're telling me with all this better and better situations that the stock is down, then it's really your opportunity to buy the dip at least, right? So if you're enjoying the video so far, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button and press on all, right? So this will really help out the channel. And also watch till the end, right? Because obviously you don't want to miss any important information. So of course I have to drop some commentary on Charlie Munger basically calling Alibaba his worst investment mistake, right? And I'm buying, so I'm directly contrary to him, right? So that's why I've also been thinking about this a lot, right? So actually I do kind of agree with him that Alibaba is kind of a retailer, because if you take a look at companies like Amazon, Mercado Libre, Sea Limited, and Alibaba, right, most of these companies do not make their money from selling the merchandise. They make their money from maybe advertising on a platform, cloud, and all this, right? So I do believe part of what he's saying is correct, right? But I also remember that Charlie Munger's purchase price of Alibaba is actually double or maybe like 2.5 times mine, right? I think it's his purchase price is like 200 or 230 or something like that, right? So if we take a look at Charlie Munger's purchase price, right? I think it's around maybe like at least like 180 or something like that, right? Because you can see that he bought at 245 and then 180 and then 145, right? So let's call it 180 to 200 range, right? So that is double the price I paid, right? And am paying right now, right? So I think that really does change the dynamic of the investment, right? So whether you are saying, oh, this is not a fabulous business, but of course, if you pay, let's say, let's go back to Facebook, right? If you had paid $372, obviously you would say it's not a fabulous business, right? Because even if the business performs as you think it should, maybe you lose a lot of money, right? But if you get it at one of these bottoms, right? If you take a look, something like this, it's up 73%. So I think that does change the investment dynamic a bit, right? Because at one price, it can be actually a net investment, and at another price, it can't be a net investment, right? Because if you're buying Alibaba, let's say at the bottom the other time at $60, right? I think it was around like 40 to 50% of their market cap is in cash, right? So in that case, I think it would have been a terrific investment, right? And I think the returns speak for themselves after they have done this 100% run, and now it's having a pullback, right? So that is just a bit of my thoughts on Charlie Munger, why he's calling Alibaba his worst investment mistake, right? I think maybe perhaps he's talking about him paying too much, right? And I think that's not the only possibility, but that is something that I see being very prevalent, right? Because it's like buying Amazon stock in the dot-com bubble, right? Even though it's a great company, if you paid way too much for it, I think it would be still a bad investment mistake, right? So I think for the last part of this video, I really want to talk about the lesson of patience, right? Because as you can see, some people, when I sold my Alibaba options, especially here, right, it was very painful for me, right? Because the next day itself, actually, they announced that I think Jack Ma was seen in China or something like that, or M Financial had some news, right? And then basically it just went up like 5% the next day, right? Which I was trading quite short dated options. I bought 6 months options, but at the time it was like 2 or 3 months remaining on the options, right? So obviously that 5% move would have been like a 50% move on my options, right? And then it continued going up, right? But I do want to say that if you keep thinking like that, my profits will get bigger and bigger, right? Then obviously you will take this downside, and now your options will be worthless, right? So that is lesson number one, which is very important, right? And the second lesson is patience, in the sense that, you know, a lot of people are saying at 120, right? It'll never go back to 95. Are you crazy? Your target is 93. Why are you insane? A lot of people in the group chats and all that were going at it this way, right? But I always thought that you know, if it doesn't go back to 93, right, then I'll just not buy. And I think that is a very valuable lesson to investors, right? Obviously, it's very painful to see that your profits could have been, you know, a lot more, or you could have bought at this higher prices, and then it continued going to the moon, right? But the only thing I'm sure of is the higher the prices you pay, the lower your implied returns, right? So now you can see after the pullback, after some patience, I got the pullback. Who knows if this is a bottom, right? It might go back to 80. Hopefully not, right? Because if not, my options will be in quite dire straits, right? But it can also bounce and continue going up from here. So I think this is also the importance of learning a bit of technical analysis, right? Because this also informs you when to buy, when it's overbought, right? So one of the reasons was that I was looking at it was that this RSI was way overbought, right? And this was one of the reasons I exit, right? Obviously, it's not the only reason, because the second reason was that it's up 100% from, I think, just 2 months or something like that, right? So I was thinking that's a bit too fast, right? And that was one of the main reasons I sold out, right? The RSI also helped. And now you can see the technical picture is different, right? So let's see in 3 months how this turns out. And then maybe I can be called a genius, or I can be called a donkey, right? So yeah, that's about all I wanted to share today. If you did enjoy the video, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button. With that being said, have a fantastic day ahead, and peace out.